but I do actually prefer the e.l.f. underneath my eyes. Just calling them like I sees them, fam. What is up, guys? Welcome back. Today we are doing another full face of testing drugstore dupes. I picked up a bunch of stuff that I've had the chance to try here and there and match to some things in my collection that I think you guys will appreciate seeing some alternatives to, because a lot of them are really pricey. This one's going to be unlike the last one. The last one was kind of a full beat with powder and everything. This one's gonna be a little bit lighter weight, a little bit lighter coverage, even though I could really use the coverage today. Wow, that's okay. But yeah, I'm gonna move y'all in and we're just gonna play with some good affordable products. Do a little bit of that, and a little bit of that. Hey dudes, so the first thing that I thought that would be fun to dupe, at least for coverage, was the Chantecaille Future Skin Cushion, because she's $128, and yes, you know, you get 2 cushions for that, but if that's not in your budget, which is completely allowed, I wanted to offer an alternative. So this is our friend. She is very pretty. I'm also going to try and concentrate on keeping the sides of my face straight this time, because that is what I am notorious for in these videos. I have one job. Put one type of product on one side of my face and the other type of product on the other side of my face, but I get to jibber jabbering so much that I mix them up. I reviewed this not that long ago, and I've actually been using it a ton off camera because I love the finish. There are a lot of skin tints out there, and a lot in my collection, as you guys well know, that have a really dewy finish, and this does not have a dewy finish. It has kind of a satin finish, and so trying to find something drugstore-y that had this light of coverage and also this finish was pretty difficult. The closest that I got was an oldie, but some would argue not a goodie. I liked it. The CoverGirl Clean Fresh Skin Milk. Yeah, this is $10 at the drugstore, and I have it in the shade Porcelain 510, and you can wear this so thinly. I noticed that a lot of people who tested this, Raw Beauty Christie being the one that really comes to mind, noticed that it had a weird texture to it, like theirs had little balls of something in it, and mine has not done that. Mine never did that, so I don't doubt that that was a reality for some people, and it was definitely an issue for CoverGirl. You know, I hope that they addressed that, but mine didn't do that. It's a little bit dewier, but it does have a dry down, and so the coverage is really flexible. I mean, you can't get full coverage out of it or anything, but it's a little bit more buildable than the Chantecaille, but I feel like you get a really similar finish out of them. The Chantecaille is a little bit more somehow like camouflaging and a little bit more smoothing, but this is, it's a little bit also more like moisturizing and nourishing. It just depends on your needs and your budget. Now here's a fun one. I was so excited about this, and I was also really, really excited that it worked. So this is, you know, some would argue kind of an overpriced product, but it is also one that's being discontinued because Becca is going away, ostensibly. So this is the very popular Becca Under Eye Brightening Corrector. Okay, so I'm gonna put this on. I am obsessed with this stuff. It is such a good little tool for camouflaging things that you don't necessarily want to put concealer on top of, especially when you're doing a light coverage look like this. It's nice to have everything match in terms of coverage. And sure, you know, you can go in with a high coverage concealer and a teeny tiny brush, Lisa Eldridge style, and cover anything and really do a good job of camouflaging it, and you won't really notice it. You don't have to go full coverage just because you have blemishes, but I find something like this helps me not put on as much product. So we have all been in pursuit, right, of a dupe for this, and I recently learned that, and I don't know why I didn't figure this, you know, why I didn't think of it in the first place, but the Ulta Beauty house brand is cruelty-free because they are only in America. They don't sell, you know, in China or anything. And so I picked up this Brighten and Conceal Under Eye Brightener. This also only comes in 2 shades. So this is in the shade light to medium, and I'm gonna swatch them next to each other because it's pretty clear to me, and I genuinely appreciate it, that Ulta was kind of going for this product. It's disguised because it's in a different package, but like, can you tell the difference? Can you? Because that's the Ulta one and that's the Becca one. Luxury left, drugstore right. Yes. And I do really like the stick delivery system. I haven't looked at the ingredients, but I mean, it behaves so similarly. I wouldn't be surprised if the first ingredient is castor oil, the same way that the Becca one is. So not only is that a good dupe for it, just from a pricing standpoint, but also, you know, the Becca Under Eye Brightening Corrector is disappearing, so this is a new alternative. And I am happy about it. So we're looking fairly flawless at the moment, and I'm not sure that anyone would clock that I'm wearing 2 different foundations or 2 different brighteners, you know? All right, next we are duping another Chantecaille product. I picked up the e.l.f. Flawless Brightening Concealer. So this is that, you know, YSL touche éclat kind of texture where it's very light coverage and brightening. This guy is like $55, and this is probably like 8, you know? They're not quite the same shade, but they are a very similar delivery system. They're not really the same shade at all. But this is the e.l.f. and this is the Chantecaille. So we will go with the Chantecaille first. Today, the new beauty line from Violette _FR launched, and I picked up a bunch of stuff from that collection. So if you don't know who she is, I would highly recommend checking her out. She is just like ultimate French girl vibes, but I'm so happy for her that she started her own line, and I cannot wait to try it because her taste is immaculate. All right, I'm going to blend this with a sponge. Starting with the drugstore. The challenge today is going to be matching up the colors of my blushes because I got some stuff where the formulas are similar, but I'm not really sure about the actual shades. But I'm not trying to necessarily shoot down the luxury versions of these products because sometimes that is the nuance that you're paying for, is that the shades are a little bit less common. Okay, so that is a little bit more obvious because that is a deeper color of concealer. And so, you know, this side of my face looks a little bit more cool toned and this side looks a little bit more warm toned. I think that also has to do with, you know, the complexion product as well. The Chantecaille is just a little bit dark for me, so that is why, but I think that when all of it comes together, it's going to work just fine. So I actually like went crazy at the drugstore section of Ulta. It's the easiest way to shop drugstore products online as far as I'm concerned. The drugstore can be kind of a jungle. There's a lot of stuff flying at you, you know? And when you go into a CVS or a Walgreens or something, you're not sure what's new, you're not sure what's been like touched or whatever. And I find, you know, shopping Ulta online, I can see what's new, I can see the colors really easily and everything. I know what the whole line looks like, so that was what I did. So I got all kinds of stuff, and I'm going to do a full best and worst drugstore cream cheek kind of video, and there really aren't that many because I focus on cruelty-free, and so there's only a handful of brands at the drugstore that are actually cruelty-free. But I picked up the e.l.f. Putty Blush, I picked up the Milani Cream Blushes, the Cheek Kiss, and that is a little bit different different than the Cheek Kiss liquids. I also picked up the NYX Bear With Me Luminous Cheek Serum, and I picked up the NYX Sweet Cheeks, and I got 2 shades of each one. So it really wasn't very expensive, but I did end up with a lot of blush. So I'm going to start with something a little bit bronzer-ish on me. So I'm going to start with the NYX Bear With Me, and I have this in the shade, come on buddy, Tan Bronze. So that works out, doesn't it? Drugstore. And that is very lightly pigmented and a little bit too wet for my taste. You know, you can kind of feel the difference between this and a luxury version of it because it just feels more jelly-y and less rich. It's like the suspension that the pigment is in is just a little bit less consistent, and it doesn't really want to agree quite as well with what else is on my face. But it's a pretty color and it shears out really easily. It'd probably be really good with fingers. I do that because I don't want that line on my neck. You end up making a lot of really uncute faces doing your makeup. But that did serve the purpose of kind of tanning that a little bit. And I'm gonna go with the Fenty on the other side. My Cheeks Out in Butter Biscuit. And this is a little bit of an emollient formula, very, very similar in shade, but it's just got a lot more pigment to it, and so you get more bang for your buck. Yeah, this is just a little bit patchy, and this just goes on so effortlessly, you know? It's like so patchy, I feel like maybe I didn't do a very good job, so I'm going to just try and smooth that out a little bit more. I don't know. Yeah. I'm not sure about that, bear with me. I do want you guys to know that it is very gel-ish. It's not cream-ish. Okay, so I have gotten multiple requests to try these and asking a lot in the comments how certain other blushes compare to this formula. So this is the Milani Cheek Kiss in a little tub. So we have tried the tube before. So you just take the E off, we go from tube to tub, a little compact. So I got the shades Nude Kiss and Blushing Berry. Oh, I also picked up some from Flower Beauty. This will all be included later on in the best and worst drugstore cheek product video. But I'm going to start with this kind of rosy tone here. Drugstore. Very pigmented, fam. Whoa, whoa, we love to see it. That is really, really pretty. And a lot of times, colors will be very different in the pan, but because of our undertones, they'll kind of all rush towards the middle when they're on your face. And so things are going to look different on me, likely, than they do on you. But we might be able to not necessarily use exactly the same shade in a luxury product and still get something that is virtually undetectable side to side. You do have to be a little more careful with your blush when you're wearing such low coverage because it doesn't really have much to mix with, but that's super duper pretty. Like that behaved like a luxury product, full stop. It was so easy and so pretty. I do like the e.l.f. putty blushes, but the wear time on them is not awesome. I just think that that's kind of what you're paying for a lot of times. So I pulled out the Melt Cosmetics Cream Blush Lights to compare against these because I felt like when I swatched them, they had that same kind of lightweightness to them that's almost like an oil, not quite as weightless. It's got a little bit more of a cream consistency to it than the Melt Cosmetics, but the Melt ones are honestly like, there's just, I don't know if I've ever felt anything quite like them, but aside from just a tiny, tiny difference in the slippiness, they are very, very similar. So this is the shade Honey Thief, and Honey Thief is also matte. So I'm going to use that one. And by matte, I just mean the Melt Cosmetics ones have some shimmer in some of them. And I actually just talked about it on my Instagram. I didn't include it in the video. I got more time to work with the Melt Cosmetics blushes. And while I think that they are all really, really beautiful, the shimmer formulas are incredibly special. They are so unique and they have a really beautiful luminescence on the skin without you really seeing the shimmer. The shimmer just helps it spread really beautifully and look kind of better than skin. So you can definitely see the difference there. This one is, I expected it to be, yeah, it's a little bit pinker and this one's a little bit more orange, and all of the Melt Cosmetics blushes pull just a tiny bit orange. But I mean, again, I don't necessarily think that anybody's going to clock the difference there. I am just gonna go in with a little bit more of the concealer on each side because, again, when you're going for such low coverage, sometimes the pigment on the blush just takes over. And the whole point of blush is to have a little bit of contrast here and there. I got this in the shade Fair 15W, by the way. This is the e.l.f. The e.l.f. does have its own dry down. I honestly really like the e.l.f. version of this particular formula. It's so pretty. It's really, really pretty. A little bit more Chantecaille. You know, I'm using the same sponge the whole time, so I mean, is this purely scientific? No. But it's just more about trying to adjust our brains to what we're really paying for. A lot of times you're paying for skincare ingredients, which are only going to really show in the long term, if at all. And you're often paying for a luxury experience while putting the product on. That has to do a lot of times with packaging. And so drugstore, that's really what you're sacrificing a lot of times, is quality of the packaging. Like the e.l.f. button got stuck right when I started the video and stuff, you know? And that's just not something that tends to happen with the products that cost more. All right, my lips are a little concealery. I just wanted to go with something really chill on my eyes today. And I thought it might be nice to just pull out some ColourPop shadows. So I have the shade Brady and Twitter Pated. The thing about ColourPop is that if I like a shade, you're probably not going to be able to find it if I've had it for more than a week. You know, so it's more just kind of speaking to the formulas, not necessarily the particular shades, because they just cycle their stuff out so quickly. And I feel like a lot of times that is what happens with lower cost makeup, is that stuff is less likely to be treated like a holy grail because the company doesn't treat it that way. You know, the company doesn't make a big deal out of it because they're kind of churning product out more inexpensively, and it's kind of treated like fast fashion. I mean, that's what ColourPop self-identifies as. And so that makes it harder, you know, as a consumer sometimes to feel the same way, or to not feel the same way, I guess. These are both Super Shock shadows. This is the matte formula, and it is a really great, like, one and done shadow that you can put on with your fingers, but it will also pick up with a brush. The main thing is you just want to make sure you don't leave them open. They will kind of dry out because they're a little bit more putty texture than like a regular eyeshadow. And then I'm just going to use Twitter Pated. If you guys don't know what Twitter Pated means, it is from Bambi, and it means like springtime when everybody's falling in love. You're Twitter Pated. So yes, that is a pink shift gold sparkly eye. In the words of one of my Instagram comments today, khaki with a rosy eye look. Groundbreaking, I know, but even more groundbreaking is that I'm going to pull out my Pat McGrath palette in order to mimic this. So I'm going to use a, what do we have here? Yeah, that'll work. I'm gonna use this like mauvey pinky shade. I'm just gonna put that all over. And this is probably where I'm going to lose the comparison being so airtight, but it is important to point out when a luxury product is really worth it, you know? I am getting this everywhere though. It's okay, it's all cream. With the exception of the eyeshadow, so it will clean up nicely. Ultimate Pink Shift Gold comes in the form of this shade right here. They have names. I lost the little thing, so I don't know, but yeah, that's how you do Pink Shift Gold, fam. Just talk to Mama Pat. Yeah, so those are very, very different. Trying to go for the same thing, but Twitter painted just doesn't give you that consistency of the reflection. And I'm not sure that it's really going for it, but it is a pink shift gold glitter, and this is a pink shift gold like translucent chrome. So, all right, I'm gonna zoom through some brows and some eyeliner and some mascara, and then we will move on to lips. Okay, I kind of feel like my face ate both blushes. So I'm actually going to go in with the e.l.f. Putty Blush at the risk of it, you know, eating it again. And I'm going to mirror that against a Phytosurgence one that I feel like will match. Really? e.l.f. didn't even like put the shade on there, but that's okay. Got a pink one and a coral one. Okay, so this is the Phytosurgence. And I shouldn't even call this really luxury because, I mean, it's a luxury feeling product, but it is not an expensive product at all. I just think that it is the most similar to the Putty Blush, and it is very similar also, as I mentioned before, to the Honest Beauty texture. The way that it kind of goes matte on your skin. I think we can do more. There we go. Definitely not outside my comfort zone, but very pretty. And then e.l.f., I will look at my order and I will tell you guys what shade this is on the screen. Definitely not as pigmented, but similar in texture. I just cheated, it's fine. Definitely looking like one solid shade of pink right now, and that is just because the concealers in both situations are, well, this one, it's just, this one's a little bit higher coverage, and that's really like not saying much because they're both really, really low coverage, but I do actually prefer the e.l.f. underneath my eyes. Just calling them like I sees them, fam. Okay, so I'm only gonna use one lip color, and that's because I don't really like have a really good shade match for this, but formula match wise, I got the NYX This Is Milky gloss. And I got this because I thought it was probably going to be a lot like the Tower 28 Milky glosses. And even if it isn't, I thought I would really like it. So cool toned that it isn't the same color as any of the Milky glosses that, well, any of the Milky glosses. I own all of them. So that's the shade, and it is the shade Cookies and Milk, and it is a super, super cool toned pale taupe. See? It's like, whoa. It's like, whoa. But it smells good. It smells really good. Kind of like vanilla, sweet. And I'm gonna blend that in with my lip liner in hopes that it warms it up just ever so slightly. I need it to be a little more neutral and a little less gray. Although I think Hannah, I think you'd like this. The shade specifically. Hannah as in Hannah Louise Poston. Yeah, I think that that's going to look good with a makeup look. I don't know if it looks good with this makeup look. I didn't realize quite how warm everything is until I got that on, so wozers. You know, it's just not enough concealer. I think that's the main issue here. It's just not enough in terms of coverage and the differences in the colors on my face. I did happen to finally locate my Uma Stay Woke concealer. So I'm gonna use that on this side and just pull some brightness back out. A little goes a long way, but this stuff is so beautiful. It's a little bit too light, I think, and that will actually be good if I can shear it out enough, because I can use it to balance the lightness that I have on the other side and make this look a little bit more wearable. Is it helpful to see me troubleshoot things? Gosh. Oh, I love that formula. Yeah, see, that's whoa bright. Whoa bright. I'm gonna turn my sponge around so that we don't keep applying more product. Okay, let's see what happens when I get the other side on, if it looks normal or if I need to remedy anything else. So I am going in with the e.l.f. 16-Hour Hydrating Camo Concealer. And bringing back some brightness over here. Maybe I should have gone with the other one, the regular 16-hour. Because I think it might be a fairer shade, but we'll see. God, what a pretty formula. Ooh, what a pretty formula. Both of them. Use the butt of my sponge here, pull the blush up just a little bit on both sides, blend everything so that it's not so contrasty. I just kind of work it until I like how it looks, you know? It's the beauty of cream. All right, I like that. I'm gonna move you guys out and we're going to chat about these products real quick. Yeah, I like this. And I will probably, when I get off camera, just put a little bit more of the Pat McGrath on this side and call it a day, because these are similar enough and it's a pretty enough face of makeup that I don't mind filming another video wearing this. So let's chat about the final takeaways here, the final thoughts on these products. So starting with the complexion, I know that not everyone really loves this foundation, the CoverGirl Clean Fresh Skin Milk. I really like it. I liked it when I tried it. I like it every time I use it. And I think that it is really pretty. It seems to play well with other products. It really worked well with everything that I put on it today. And I think that the 510 Porcelain is a good shade match for me. The shade match that I got on the Chantecaille is a little bit more of a summer shade for me, and I absolutely love this. It is frankly undupable in terms of like the nuances of the texture on the skin, but I don't really think that many people are going to care about that. I think that you buy Chantecaille because of the ingredients, and I mean, yes, it performs beautifully and it wears beautifully. It's a very pretty product. You are not compromising in any way on performance, but the big difference here is the experience and the skincare ingredients, if that's what matters to you. I mean, this is not that much more of a luxury experience than this. I mean, yes, it's metal, it's cold. You know, you can feel a weight to this, the Chantecaille Le Camouflage Stylo, but I prefer the shade here, and I think I got the lightest shade that they make in this. And yes, you know, the pen, the clicker got a little bit stuck on this, and that's kind of the price you don't pay, I guess, when you shop at the drugstore, but I think that this is a really lovely product. I genuinely appreciate that drugstore brands put things out that feel like this, that this is such a luxury product concept. You know, I think it was kind of pioneered by YSL, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was the first thing years and years ago that I remember seeing in this format was the YSL tushy cloth. That's like what, you know, it lives in my brain. That being at the drugstore is so cool, and I genuinely think that like you don't need to spend $55 on this. The other concealer combo here, I mean, this is not that expensive of a product, the and it is a truly breathtaking concealer. It's so pretty. It has this beautiful lit from within thing. It's got really great coverage to it, and it's very flexible, and it also comes in like a gazillion shades. So, you know, as far as the coverage and everything is concerned, they're comparable, but I think that this has merits all its own that really justify the price. However, the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer is absolutely beautiful. It really is, and you get a lot of product for your money. And you know, I think it's like $6 or $8. It's really hard to beat that. Blush wise, I feel like my face eats blush pretty much no matter what, but wear time wise and everything like that, I still prefer the Melt Cosmetics. The only thing that really falls behind on the Melt Cosmetics for me is that you guys are right. All their stuff does, like this whole release, this whole collection does lean a little bit too orange, and I swatched them and I was like, oh, a lot of these lean pink enough. And then a lot of the comments on that particular review video were about people who have yellow undertones really needing things that have some cooler lavender, you know, backing colors to them in order for it not to turn some kind of really icky, like sick shade of yellow on their skin. And I am even more aware of that now that I am trying to, you know, mimic shades that I got from other brands with the Melt Cosmetics ones, because you realize that like that does not exist in the Melt Cosmetics collection, even though they put out 8 shades. So I do think that Melt really could benefit from expanding their shade range to pinks and lavenders. I think that all skin tones would probably really benefit from that if we could put out some berries and some cool wine colors and some really pretty mauves. And in lieu of that, I don't think that these are bad at all. The two that I used today were the e.l.f. Putty Blush and the Milani Cheek Kiss. I don't think that either of these is a bad use of your money. I do think that Phytosurgeons for the price is really It's really awesome. It's got a lot of pigment to it. You're not gonna work your way through this anytime soon. It's so much product, especially because it is so pigmented. The colors are a little bit more nuanced, I feel like. And like this fume shade is just, I mean, come on. That is ultimate mauve dreaminess right there, isn't it? But I also don't think that you are going to be, like, I don't think that blindfolded, you would be like, oh, that's obviously a drugstore product with either of these. I think the easiest thing to tell between, and it's not just because I used Pat McGrath on this eye, I mean, obviously comparing anything to Pat McGrath is unfair, but comparing anything to ColourPop is also unfair because the price is just so low. And so they kind of never excite me, and these are the only ColourPop shadows that I own besides the Raw Beauty Kristi palette. And when I was hunting through my collection, I didn't own any drugstore eye products to speak of. You know, these are drugstore price, but you know, I guess they're in the drugstore section at Ulta, but you're not gonna find these at like the drugstore, at like Walgreens or something. But the reason for that is, aside from an e.l.f. palette, which I feel like they also go really flash in the pan, I end up getting rid of them because they're usually dupe palettes for something that I already have, and also they go away really fast. And so it's like, if I were to talk about it on my channel and you can't get it, that's really frustrating. But the e.l.f. eyeshadow formulas tend to be pretty nice. Sometimes they're touch and go. Sometimes their color stories are touch and go. But aside from that, I really have not found drugstore eye products to be very satisfying or worth my money. That's just kind of where they fall short. I feel like the complexion, absolutely. I feel like you can get some incredible complexion products at the drugstore. It's when you get into really luxurious, just velvety, creamy, lots of payoff, satisfying eyeshadows. You can find them, but it's not as easy. So that's why I feel like that's the biggest, most noticeable difference, is my eyeballs. And finally, obviously I didn't compare this, you know, side by side with anything, but I really, really like this formula. This is Milky Gloss from NYX. It's lovely. It smells really nice. It's a very pretty color. It's a super, super neutral, almost to the point of being like lavender gray. So if that's your shade, they have a lot more shades than the Milky glosses from Tower 28. We don't necessarily always have to think in terms of, this is a brand that puts out this price of product, therefore I'm willing to pay this price of product for this formula. A lot of times we need to be thinking outside of the brand and saying, is this formula so undupable that I actually need to pay that amount of money for it outside of my loyalty to the brand? And NYX put out an absolutely beautiful gloss here. It's in a pretty darn heavy package. It's in this like frosted plastic, and the formula is beautiful. The color is really, really consistent, and I think that it is very lovely. I think that it stands on its own, not just as a dupe. So those are my drugstore dupes today, just kind of testing some that I hadn't gotten to use yet, but also showing you guys some that I have been really liking lately. And this face of makeup was a lot different than the last one, where I think we went in. You know, this is supposed to be more of a lighter weight, you know, all cream, kind of a little bit more neutral, maybe sun-kissed sort of look. I don't know, it's right within my comfort zone. Obviously, we have a pink sparkly eye going on and a ton of blush. That's very much squarely down khaki street. But either way, if you wanted to achieve that very inexpensively, here you have it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, do give it a thumbs up. If you want to keep hanging out with me on this channel, hit the button down below and subscribe. I would love it if you guys did. Thank you so much for watching and for hanging out with me today. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.